A vital aspect of becoming a professional musician is knowing what the options are for establishing a viable career and what the rules of the road are to achieve that goal. To that end, we are presenting a conversation with Patrice Rushen, pianist, award-winning recording artist, composer, and educator at USC's Thornton School of Music and the Berklee College of Music. Hi, Patrice. I know you've had a wonderful career, and I'd like you just to talk a little bit about how you built your career path and what needs to be done to make a life as a professional musician.
Very good question, and a hard question to answer now because things have changed so drastically in terms of the music business and what it represented when I started and what it has come to be. But I would say that I believe that the biggest thing is that there needs to be an awareness and the training of your craft. In other words, I wanted to be a great musician. I wanted to be a great pianist. I wanted to write. My aspiration was to be a composer. And I was willing to go to school and try to get the information any way I could. Along the way, I discovered jazz. And that led me to wanting to even know more about music, how it was put together, all the different kinds of music that were influencing the medium called jazz. I think that that knowledge was important, and I think that if I was going to say what the first step is to understand that you never stop learning, and you have to be willing to keep diving deeper and deeper into it in order to craft the kind of career that you want to have.
So talk about the way that things have changed since you've started in the business.
I would say that the biggest change that I see is that today artists really have to adopt the attitude of entrepreneurs. You're like a CEO of your own company. You have to plan. You have to organize. You have to find a team of people to help you. Before, we had a structure through record companies that where a lot of different things were handled. Your publishing, your royalties, the business that would allow for you to actually make money, the part of the business that allowed for you to make money. These things were being handled. Now, was it always fair? No. Was the aspect and the piece of the pie always fair to the musicians, to the writers, to the producers? Not always, but it existed. And we had radio and means by which you could at least track how a record was doing and begin to question things if you didn't see things equaling out. You were receiving a lot of airplay, but people weren't buying. Well, did that mean then that your records weren't in the stores? Or did that mean that there was if there was a disparity, you could find it, pinpoint it, question it. Sometimes you could actually solve it. Today, that's a lot harder. And the record companies don't exist. And it's not just the business aspect. It's the aspects of A&R, artist relations, artist development, learning how to address your public, learning the best ways to put together your show. These are things that don't exist in that same way.
Well, where does a student go to find out things like how to present themselves, what unions they have to join, all these little nuances, these business things?
I think you have to search out the music business classes that exist in some of the institutions who have adopted the understanding that the contemporary music palette actually requires you to have some business savvy. Now, does that mean you got to take every business class that exists and all this? No, not at all. Find those that relate to you and network with people who do want to take all of those classes and want to apply those things to entertainment, to music, and begin to have a discussion, a meaningful discussion. That kind of dialogue, though, can only happen if the musicians take it upon themselves to begin to become more knowledgeable.
Can you kind of walk us through a little bit about what it takes to go into a studio and actually make a recording for somebody who's never done that, going in the first time? What are they going to encounter? What do they need to know?
The studio is a very unforgiving situation because the microphones hear everything. The microphones hear the truth. And at the same time that it can allow for the capture of an amazing musical moments, full of nuance and full of that magic that happens in the moment. It can be a beast in terms of being able to really come to grips with the essence of the music that you're trying to record. Preparation is key. And if you're a band, let's say, it might be a good idea to rehearse. Get some rehearsals in so you know more or less the framework and what you're going for. Having that kind of purpose going in the studio is important, because usually you are in an environment that more supports the quality of the sound, meaning you're separated from each other with drums in one place and guitar way over there and the amps in another room and keyboards maybe somewhere else. It's not like playing a live gig.
And can you talk about the people who are inside the booth, about their importance and about the importance of them having some relationship to music so that it all works together?
More and more, the requirement is for people who are engineers and producers to be able to converse and speak the same language as the musicians that they're trying to record. It makes things a lot easier on both sides, because the ordinary and the extraordinary coexists side by side at the same time. And to be able to make fine adjustments, or to be able to know the difference, to be able to capture it, is to be able to converse very quickly about what's happening. You don't want to be in a situation where you're having to do a tremendous amount of explanation.
So everybody starts out in the music business as a musician playing an instrument, but many people take divergent paths in the music itself, such as composing, arranging, songwriting. Could you talk a little bit about what it means to be diversified and to expand your career in those ways?
If you play in a rhythm section, learn something about the other instruments in the rhythm section. You know, sit behind a set of drums. If you play keyboards, just sit behind a set of drums and try to do it. You don't have to be a great drummer. And quickly you figure out, whoa, this is a different point of view. It will inform how you play the piano when you're in the rhythm section and working with other people. Guitar. Don't just play guitar in situations where there's no keyboard. Sit behind a keyboard with another guitarist playing and figure out how things work and figure out where you fit. And all of these kinds of just playing these different roles, I think, informs the one that you really want to do in a way that nothing else can.
Talk to me a little bit about what the musician needs to be aware of as far as things like how to comport themselves, how to get there, how important it is to be on time, what they need to know about the actual business of the music business.
There are certain aspects of just trying to do it the right way that are not so easy to explain, but have to be experienced for you to get why it's important. If it's a game, I used to play this game with myself so that I would be ready, be prepared for whatever it was that I was having to do. I would just want to be the one on the session and see how few times somebody had to call my name for something that needed to be changed.
It's sometimes counterintuitive toward what it is to be an artist, because you think coming up as an artist, oh, I want to break the rules. I want to be different. I want to be the rebel. I want to be all these things that just fly out the window the first time you walk into a studio. So I think it's it's really important for people to understand how important that is.
I think there are times when having that kind of spirit is appropriate, but it's not an excuse to not know how to do it correctly. And correctly is relative to what the music needs now. Who's in charge today? What do they need from me today? And that is what's going to give you the opportunity to then be able to probably get closer to doing your thing the way you want to do it tomorrow.
When you're coming up as an artist, A lot of times you're expected to do what you do for love. But then you get to a certain point in your life where you realize love won't pay the bills. So can you talk about becoming a professional, how you get paid, what you do, what you expect when you get paid? When should you play for free? When is it smart to do that, and when is it smart not to do that?
Certainly when you're starting out, your priority is to try to put yourself in an environment where you can test your skills and get better at it by doing. Represent what you are trying to be about as a musician and go out there and play a gig. Networking with like-minded people to go and do a presentation in a style which would allow for people to get the kind of thought and the kind of artistic idea that you want to get across, and regardless of category.
So when you talk about being the leader of a group, there are certain obligations that come with that, such as filing taxes, filing contracts, knowing what it means to be an independent contractor. Can you talk about what the responsibilities of being a leader are and what people have to know to do that?
Well, the leader, I think, really sets the tone for everybody. Now, the leader doesn't always have to be the one that executes the contracts necessarily, but certainly needs to know what's going on and what's in it, and whoever they put in charge of that, follow through to make sure that those things are handled well. Sometimes it's hard to be the leader and the person playing and handle all the kinds of things that you mentioned at the same time. That's a very difficult juggling act, and not one that should be taken lightly at all. So it's very important that the leader have an awareness of all of these kinds of things. Obviously, the deal, the contract, what's supposed to be happening, the kinds of things in, for example, the contract writer that you're going to need. And don't take anything for granted. If right down to where the AC plug for electricity should be dropped, so that you know for sure that when you roll in that bass amp or whatever, there's a place to plug it in.
Can you talk a little bit just about the technicalities of how the musicians are paid, how they're employed? Are they independent contractors? Do you have to file taxes for them? What's just the specifics that a small leader just starting out with a small group has to be aware of?
Typically, the side people that you use are independent contractors. And you yourself, if you're going to be doing it, pretty often, should look into whether or not it's appropriate for you to have a corporation, to be incorporated, so that the monies that come through are not mixed up with income that may be coming from other income-bearing aspects of your life. That the money that you get from gigs, the money that you get from recording and doing things as so-and-so, the company, CEO, musician, that the money all goes to one place, and then it's easier for you to file taxes and to know what's what.
Can you talk just a little bit about how the internet is playing into all of this and the ability to connect up with people who are miles away from you?
It's amazing. And I think our biggest caveat with it is that we have to learn, now that we know that it works so well, we have to learn now how to use it wisely. And I think artists have a responsibility to, in this way, lead the way, because we've used it a lot to be able to get things going, keep things moving, tell people about what we're doing, help them understand how passionate we are about it, and draw them into our world a bit. And it works. But, I think you can pay a very dear price if you put out there just anything.
What about being a woman in the music business today?
I am happy to report that in my mind, things are in a healthy place. I think that we are finding that the young women who are coming into this now get that they can own this. And when I say that, what I mean is own it and be have pride in the fact that they are part of a community that no longer just looks at gender as being the make or break as to whether or not they should be able to play. Can you play? Can you sing? Can you write? What do you think? What do you say you can do? And then come with it. Bring it.
If you had a group of students in front of you, like I know you do all the time, and they were new and you were new and it was your first day in class, how would you launch them? How would you launch the class?
I would launch the class by asking them, why are you doing this? Why? And, you get a lot of different answers at first. Well, I really love the music, or, I just want to be a good musician. I want to help people. I want to use my music as a means by which, but, I get all kinds of answers to that question. But at the end of it all, those are all beautiful things. Some people even say, because I want to be famous, which is okay. I'm okay with that. But these are results of something. I want to know, and I want them to probe, because I don't know that it's a question that they could answer that day. But I want their journey to propel them towards an answer to that question of, at their essence, at their core, why music? Why would they take the time and the energy and the solitary hours and so on and so forth to do this? And I think anybody who's in the arts anyway, we're always looking at people who say, "What are you doing this for?" But to be able to answer that honestly is something that I think is important. And so that's the launch, is for them to use this whole idea of being a musician as a way to find out who they are, as a way to find out what their essence is and their beliefs in terms of what they're really about, and to know that the blessing of having a way to communicate something that you feel deeply inside is something that the world is interested in hearing.
Knowing all this, what is it that you've found for yourself through the music that has made it so rich and important to you?
For me, music has become the best means of communication that I have. I love music, and I'm a fan of music and a participant in it because I was a fan first. I happen to have a certain talent and skill, which I'm grateful for, that has allowed for me to be able to participate, and at a level where I keep coming into contact with wonderful, incredible other artists of all disciplines, but especially music. And they keep me motivated to keep striving, to keep reaching. And I never feel like I'm finished. And I love that. It keeps me alive, and it keeps me feeling that I'm this perpetual student, while at the same time I've developed a certain sense of being able to look back and understand that there are certain aspects of it that I have mastered. And that mastery only propels me more. So it's kind of cool to have both these things going on. But I found out about myself that my why is that in doing what I do that brings me such excitement, such joy, certain challenges, but at the end of it all, just a feeling of being alive and an awareness and a way to talk about it, a way to express it, it has the potential to be a motivator for others. And being that kind of motivator, I want to make sure that the message and the messages that I receive are accurate and clear. And it's all about the joy. It's all about the joy. I think when you are joyful about what you're doing, so many things are possible in terms of you being able to keep things moving. And people did that for me. They brought me extreme joy in watching them do this. And I said, I want to do that. And that's what I want to do. I want somebody to be able to see me or hear me or watch me and walk away going, I want to do that.